What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Indie Quest, the celebration of the indie and obscure. I'm one of your hosts today, Josh, and I'm joined by one of my awesome co-hosts, Steve. How's it going, man?
You know, man, it's going. A lot going on out there. We got frigid temperatures, amongst many other things. But we're making it through, and we're here to talk indie video games. And I'm sure that comes as a surprise to you, because this is the first time you've heard me say it.
Totally. And I'm also joined by, or we're both also joined by, the captain himself, Captain Drachma. How's it going, Seth? How are you?
It's going great. 8 inches of snow on the ground. More than Steve.
What?
I know.
Whoa.
I know. This comes as a surprise to you. Everyone out there listening right now is probably like, what is happening right now? Am I in the Matrix? And kind of. But also, we very rarely, I do want to say that very, very rarely do we have issues, technical issues on this podcast, which is pretty cool. But this time we were having some lag, so we decided to switch things up a little bit, and here we are again. But so this is the second time we've done intros with each other, which is why we're so amazed at what everyone is saying.
Now, you know, not to talk shop, but if folks have never encountered it before, trying to talk to someone with like a 0.75 second delay is weirdly impossible. You stumble over each other. You think that they didn't hear you. You think, oh, I have a second to hop in and say something here, and as someone else has the exact same thought. It's no good.
I do want to mention, because it was just funny and it deserves to be talked about, to try to figure this out, Josh had logged off to try to catch himself back up. And I was thinking, maybe it's all of us, don't know. So I said to Steve, I said, hey, I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. And you say go after I say 1. And Steve said, okay. So I said 3, 2, 1. And Steve said absolutely nothing for a good 5 seconds. And I thought he was either frozen or... But we were way more laggy than I initially thought. And then after those 5 seconds passed, Steve said, oh, I didn't understand the game.
I did it. Okay. It was tricky. We got there the second time. All right. We figured it out.
Yeah.
Regardless, our Lord and Father Google is helping us today. So here we are.
Yeah, we're here. We got it. We made it work, you know, almost 130 episodes in. We're finally figuring this thing out, you know.
Yeah. So if the sound quality, the audio quality is a little different, that's because, you know, we're in the Google studios, so they have different soundproofing paneling on the walls than the normal Discord studio. And they have a whole different, you know, audio engineer, producer, etc. So we'll see what they do with it.
Yeah. The other guy's a little smelly, you know, Craig.
Yeah, you can't trust that guy.
That guy.
He's no good.
Before we jump in, any games you guys want to chit-chat about? Anything you're playing? Anything interesting going on? Before we jump right into the Questlog shenanigans today?
I'll give a shout-out to a game that I don't know. It's very, very possible that I end up bringing it here. But it's also very rare that by January, the end of January, I will have actually played anything from 2026. So
Yes.
I do want to give a shout out to a new game that came out like a week ago called Mio, M-I-O, Memories in Orbit.
Mm-hmm.
I have played about an hour of it, and Josh, specifically, I will say that you should play this game because it is very similar to a game that may or may not have been your game of the year last year. You know,
Blueprints. Nice.
The Blueprints. Yeah,
I should play it too.
You should. And realistically, Steve, I think you would also like it. But
Yeah.
it is a gated exploration akin to the Hollow Knights of the world. But it's different in a lot of ways, and also truly, I think the thing that everyone will say is it is an absolutely stunning looking game. It is so good looking. So, yeah, that's what I've been playing. Put about an hour or two into it so far.
Yeah, I'm that one's on my radar for sure. It looks cool. It's just one of those. I feel like a lot of times when there's like a Metroidvania that comes out, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, it's another one of those," and then I'm like, "Well, you're already making me feel like maybe I shouldn't play this one," you know. But I kind of have to like not listen to people and just try it out for myself. You know, it's on Game Pass, so why not? Yeah.
I bought it at full pop on PlayStation because it is not on PS Plus. So I was like, oh, well, we're doing this thing. Steam got me again where it's like, hey, would you like this game for 10% off? I'm like, yes, but it is on PlayStation.
Yep.
And they don't have a sale. So I guess there goes $2 more. But here we are.
They could have presented you 2 games without that discount. They could have said, do you want to pay 10% more for the right to earn trophies? And you would have said, yes, please.
Yeah, that's
Charge me a
literally
10% trophy tax.
That is literally what I did. It was a trophy / couch tax. That's literally what happened.
So true.
And I paid the $2 like a schmuck. So here we are. But
That's very that's very fair.
You just need that Steam machine, man. You spend that extra money,
dude.
and then it's
kidding.
$800 up front, but that $2 adds up. Do it 300 or 400 times. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's true. So what you're saying, and I'm going to use this later, is that the Steam machine pays for itself. I'd be stupid not to buy one when it comes out.
That's gamer math right there, right?
All right,
Bundle
like
it with
that.
a deck and close your eyes and charge forward. So
Yeah.
I just want to say, I don't have a specific game I want to shout out, but I just want to kind of put a point to what Seth was just saying. I started the Samsung Notes document on my phone, titled it Game of the Year 2026. And despite it not even being the end of January, I have already played 2 games for 2026 and added 3 others to my to playlist, which is unacceptable. We should not, no games should release in January. I would say under any circumstance. I want to see legislation that specifically blocks game releases in the month of January. It's cozy winter backlog catch-up time, guys. All right, I can't start thinking about the churn and burn of the game of the year, of the best games of 2026 this early. You got to slow it down. Slow it down.
I do have a counterpoint question for both of you based on that, what you just said. Would you prefer, for the rest of time, based on what we do here, would you prefer to never have a game released in January ever again, or never have a game released in December ever again?
Oh,
because when you say that, I think I'd prefer December, because I can always play the January game later. But December is where it's like, oh, you're really putting it under some crunch time here. I just don't have time for that right now,
Yeah. I would rather that December be the blocked off. Yeah. Even though I love a cozy backlog January, we just, I want to keep Game of the Year as a mid to late December holiday. I know it would be more efficient. I see all you people out there that are just smart and you do your Game of the Year lists like the second week of January. Yeah. Yes, that's obviously smart. But I like it right around the holidays. I want the people traveling 6 hours by car to their in-laws. I want them to have a meaty podcast to listen to of me debating video games. So I would say block off December.
Yeah, I agree there. I think that's the easy answer, especially doing a podcast, trying to come up with a list and, have the discussion, not being like, well, I'm trying to finish these 3 games that came out last week too, on top of everything else, Yeah.
I also just feel so bad for those devs because, well, I mean, they planned to release their game in December. They kind of know what they're doing a little bit in that way, but at the same time, bummer for them because I feel like they don't get considered for a lot of the awards when they're releasing in December. But, oh well.
Okay, let me give you a secret third option. Let me know if either of you guys would prefer this one. So let's say every game that's going to come out in 2026 comes out February 1st. There's only one release day each year. It's February 1st. Everyone who's finished their game and it's ready has to click publish on February 1st. And then for 364 days, nobody can release another video game. Would you take that system over the current system?
It'd be interesting. There'd be so many. That'd be so good for you. February and YouTube would be crazy. Everybody would have their top 10s. And
the race to like the 50 2026 games you have to play this year.
Yep. My game of the year. They've been doing game of the year lists in like March and April. You know what I mean?
It to me, it almost makes it feel like time doesn't matter in the video game sphere at that point. It's like, who cares? Like, we're going to do game of the year in March now, right? Like, play everything you can, do it in March, wait. Or like April, right? Like, man, that's tough. Yes, I think I would prefer if everything came out a little bit more condensed and away from when we want to review like game of the year type time. But I think at the same time, we don't understand, even like me, who doesn't really look forward a whole lot. I don't think that we really wrap our heads around the hype of going into the new game releases.
Yeah.
That would completely be washed out if they all released at once. And then Silksong would dominate, and everyone would just be trying to nim at the scraps. Like a game like Silksong, right? Like something very big, you know.
Like GTA 6 this year. Like GTA 6 has to release, right? So it'd be everybody be talking about that, right?
Yes.
First and foremost, yeah.
But then everyone would be done talking about it by like April, and they'd be like, well, I got to talk about something for the next 8 months,
That's true. Yes.
It's like, oh yeah, have you guys played Big Hops? You know this? That's when that starts to come out, right?
Oh, TR-49? Seems pretty good.
Yeah, for me, this month, I haven't played any 2026 games, not really on purpose, but I'm just kind of like going through a bunch of games from 2025 still, and then just some from my backlog. So, I did want to mention, besides the fact that I've been playing a lot of Guitar Hero 3 because Steve got me into playing some rhythm games, some Guitar Hero.
Buddy.
About to finish that already, so that's a good time. But there's our buddy released the game. We all played it, right? The Joy of Putting. You know, I wanted to mention that at the top here. We're going to have more of an in-depth discussion because he's going to be on the show eventually. But our friend Potomax released a little putting game on Steam for free called The Joy of Putting. I know most of the people that are listening to this are probably aware of it, but hey, if you haven't checked it out, go check it out.
It's free, plays great, you know, mini golf, mini putt, however you refer to it. It's a very fun time. It's got leaderboards. All the folks in the Polymedia family, which includes many listeners of the IndieQuest podcast, have all been fighting for the top spots. Dude, it's a good game. It's an enjoyable time, and for the price of free, you can't say no.
Too true. I think that I am the only one among us who has not played it yet, and that is only because previously mentioned Polymedia Podcast sister show, Polykill. They are doing the bingo, you know, but it's called PolyQuest. And, you know, you can do this thing in any way, and this isn't Polykill, but you can do this thing in any way. But the correct way, in my opinion, is to actually walk the path.
Thank you.
I am using the Joy of Putting for my sports game, which I'm like one square away from, but I'm like, nope, I can't touch that until I get to that square. So that's where I'm at.
There you go.
I respect the dedication. That's the way to do it, man.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably not going to be brought to the quest log today. I mean, unless somebody surprises us, but I don't think anybody brought it because we're going to have a deeper discussion when he's on the show soon. But I didn't want to be like, hey, we have one of our friends release an indie game. We got to shout that out, you know?
Yeah,
so,
that is sick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Darn right. Not his first game either. So you can go play The Joy of Putting on Steam and think, dang, he's great. And then head over to itch.io, search up Potomax over there. He's got other games too.
Yeah, well, I think it's time. And speaking of indie games, what we do on this show, and it's been a little while since we did a regular episode where we bring things to the quest log, but what we do here is we bring games, put it on the quest log, 2 different sections. There's the main quest, which is a game that's an easy recommendation, an incredible experience, a certified banger, or, you know, this is like a 10 out of 10. You want to tell everybody about it. Everybody should give it a shot. This is you and your pet squirrel are going to have a great time playing this. Your mom's going to have a good time playing this. Your stepbrother's going to have a good time playing this. This is a banger. And then we got a side quest, which is still a recommendation. No game we bring here is not a recommendation, but this one might be that 8 out of 10. Might be a little niche. It might have a caveat or two, but it's still an awesome game you should check out. So, who wants to go first today?
I'll kick us off.
Oh, all right.
Okay.
Brave boy.
I'm being brave. Also, I noticed as I was writing notes today that, man, it feels like it, as Josh said, it feels like it's been a long time since we've done a normal IndieQuest episode, and need to knock that rust off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm ready to get the boots on the floor and get going. All right. So I brought a game today, as I enjoy doing sometimes, that I don't think that either of you will have seen in the past. And I kind of hope you haven't, because I think it's very interesting. If you have, then that's cool too. But I'm almost 100% positive neither of you have played this game. So I brought a game from last year, a little bit of cleanup for me, even though I can hardly call it that because I actually didn't discover it until post 2025. But it is called Babushka's Glitch Dungeon. First, while the boys are, if you guys, do you guys know how to spell Babushka? I'm gonna.
I just typed in glitch dungeon. Didn't even try.
So, a babushka. I'll explain that first for anybody out there that doesn't know what a babushka is. And to be completely honest, I didn't know what a babushka was, other than one thing from my childhood. So, a babushka is basically a grandma or old lady, but of Russian descent. So if you're in, or Polish, if you're in Russia, I think you would call your grandma your babushka, right? That type of thing. The only reason I'd ever heard this word was because when I was little, I was a 90s baby, 90s kid. I used to watch Rugrats, as each of us may have. And Tommy Pickles' grandparents are from, they always say, the old country, but they are like Jewish Russian descent, right?
Yep.
And I believe that they referred to Tommy's grandma as a babushka from time
I think
to time.
you're right. You're like activating, like it's like my sleeper cell keyword. You're yanking back to my young days, but that's certainly where I would have heard it too.
So I haven't heard of this game, surprisingly. But the only reason I've heard of it is because I follow Derek Yu from Mossmouth and Spelunky fame. He has a recommendation page on Steam, and he recommended this recently. I just saw the logo. I just saw the logo, and that was it. I don't know anything else about the game, really. But I was like, oh, maybe I should put that on my radar. I didn't even wishlist it, so I guess I didn't. But yeah, that's where I saw it.
It is, I will say, it is the rare game, Josh, that I find that you have not wishlisted, that I'm like, oh, that's an interesting looking game. More often than not, I'm like, oh, random game. Oh, has 50 reviews on Steam. There's no way the boys know about this one. Click on it. Josh, wishlist. Like, what the? Dude, how? Come on. Can I surprise this man ever? But with all that, this game released April 4th, 2025. So it's actually been out for quite a while. Plenty of runway to have played this by now. Developed by a developer called Pets Club 2. And it's only on PC. I think you can get it on Mac too, but only on the PC type platforms currently. Overview. It is a retro styled puzzle platformer. And they call it like a Metroidvania Lite. And we'll get into that. It does have some freedom about it, like a Metroidvania does, but I don't think it doesn't play like a gated exploration in the same way. And we can get into that when we get to gameplay. But presentation, I'm sure you guys are looking at screenshots, maybe some video. It is, I mentioned retro style, but clearly and truly, I think the point was to make it look like an NES game. Like it looks like an NES game. It feels like an NES game while you're playing it. And oftentimes I feel like the NES style, while it is replicated and it has been done a lot, more often than not, I feel like when somebody tries to go for that, they generally land on like the 16-bit style instead, because it's a little bit cleaner. And there is certain parts of this game that would not, like, we'll get to some of that with some visuals, but they're way too shiny and nice, and they almost look very contrasting to how the rest of the game looks. But this is a very good-looking game. Very cool, very nostalgic. It's like you're playing nostalgia in a lot of ways while you're playing through it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'll go into it, but it looks like an NES game, but it looks like an NES game that has like a little bit of dirty pins that you didn't like push in all the way. Like, you ever boot up Mario 2 and you're like, it boots up and you're like, well, this ain't right. And so you power her down and blow in the cartridge to fix it. It's like, it's capturing that very specific angle of the NES, which is very cool. Honestly, I'm surprised it hasn't been done before, because I love it.
It very well may have, and we just may have not seen it.
True.
But at the same time, it's like that is, and yes, my very next bullet point under presentation is, I just said fragmented pixels, and then in parentheses, glitches, right? Like, it is very much, hey, do you remember booting, like for me, and it's probably a different game for everyone, although my example is probably going to be the same example for a lot of people because this game is uber popular. But Super Mario Bros. 3, when you would boot that game up and the curtains come down at the beginning, you could always tell if you're going to have a bad time if that curtain was all wonky. You know?
Yep.
It's like, okay, probably need to blow on it a little bit more, need to take it out, do something with this, try to get it going. That is Babushka's Glitch Dungeon kind of from start to finish. Like, it's always, every screen has just a little pixel out of place, has just a little fuzziness. And, you know, back in the day when we were playing games, this was a sign of bad times. This game goes for that intentionally to like remind you of that. And it's not bad times, right? It's fun. It's good. This is the intention. And I think that that's very cool, very clever design in terms of like what the presentation, what they wanted it to look like. Because they didn't have to do that. It does interweave into the story a little bit, intertwined, but it's not like pivotal, you know, in the way that you might think it is. But they drove it home. They went for it. They put it in there, and that's what they wanted. So it's really cool in that way. A couple more points before we move on. The background colors change when you, as the Babushka, change your ability, which is cool, which is a nice little touch. So, like, for example, there is a green ability that you use. Everything kind of turns a hue of green when you change that ability. And then, so it kind of gives you rather than having to look at the upper left-hand corner of your screen where your abilities are, you can cycle through your abilities, and just seeing the background of the screen, you know which one you are on currently, right? Which is kind of cool. Nice. You know, I enjoy that. Also, there's a map, very basic map, but it is a quote-unquote Metroidvania, so you have to have that map to kind of understand where you're at. Although, I guess a lot of newer Metroidvanias don't do that, and it's an intentional difficulty spike or whatever, but this one does. Gives you a map, kind of gives you some guidance on where you're going, and there's almost like a hub world in the middle to kind of branch out of. But I think that's about it for on-screen stuff, unless you guys see anything else you wanted to mention, because that truly, the look of this game is very intentional and very important part of it. It was what they were trying to drive home. So, yeah,
right down to the fact that most backgrounds are almost entirely just black, like you would see on a lot of NES games where they're trying to, you know, be economical with the amount of sprite data that they're displaying or colors on screen. So it's just fun to watch the video over and over, looping again and again. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's like a Super Mario Brothers 2 or something dungeon, like where with a black background that just looks like something's a little wrong. You know, you got a little bit of that into the game Undertale weird stuff going on here too. I'd say, you know, that's my point of comparison. I think a little bit here from what I'm saying.
That's a good call out. Yes, there is some Undertale energy there. In a lot of ways, this game's weird. As you could imagine, you are playing as a Babushka. You're not a grandma. You were specifically a Babushka in a glitch dungeon. So it's strange. It's weird. They knew what they were doing with that. So, all right, moving on to music. What does this game sound like? Music is interesting. It's actually really good, and a lot of the music has stuck with me. Like I can hear it in my head right now as we're talking. But as you might expect of a game centered around glitchiness, there is always, it seems like, just one or two chords are always just a little off tune, just a little eerie and unpleasant to the ear. Not in a bad way, but it's like that doesn't belong there. That doesn't sound quite right. But like I said, that's what they're going for, and I applaud them for that. It's cool. I mean, the music is still good. I think I would actually listen to some of this music outside of the game. It was good enough, for that. But at the same time, it's just a little off kilter. It's just a little different compared to what you would expect out of a game like this. But at the same time, there's glitches, and that's the point. So, all right, the story. There's really not much of a story, but the glitchiness does apply here. So at the beginning of the game, you boot it up, and you're just a babushka with a broom in her hand sweeping outside of her house. When all of a sudden some stuff starts happening, and eventually you go down into your cellar. And I think that she or someone even mentions at that time, I didn't know that there was a cellar down here. And that's kind of where it's like, oh, this is like a magical cellar full of glitches, right? And the whole point of what you're doing is you have a broom in hand, you're going through, and you see some of these glitches. Generally, they're like a purpley pink hue, and most of them you can actually walk up to and sweep away with your broom. And it eliminates them, and that's kind of what you're doing, is you're cleaning up the glitch dungeon, dusting all the glitches away. Now, there are still a lot of like graphical weirdness that goes on with the background, stuff like that you can't sweep away, but you can see where there's specifically placed glitches that you can actually get rid of. And that's what you try to take care of as you're down there. Why are you doing any of this? Did she really need to go into the basement? Probably not. I don't. It's just sometimes with these NES style games, it's like, hey, here's a premise. See ya. Have fun.
Yeah, there's your excuse. Go play the game.
Yep. That's all there is to it. So even so far as I think they were having fun with it a little bit when you talk to some of the NPCs in this game, because oftentimes they just spout nonsense. It's like you're playing Castlevania 2. It's like, well, what is this? You're not saying anything to me. This means nothing. You're just talking.
They're lying to you. Yep,
yes.
They're telling you the wrong information.
Mm-hmm. There's one character that was hard to reach that actually legit said, "I am error." Like they know exactly what they're going for. So
nice.
With all that though, that will bring me to gameplay, and that is what most people will be coming and wanting to play this game for. It is mostly a traditional puzzle platformer in a lot of ways. You do have that broom, so combat is a thing. You can swing that broom at enemies, but for the most part, nothing really hurts the babushka other than one or a couple specific moments, which we'll get to in a little bit. This is mostly just a puzzle platformer. And the puzzles come from two things. There are the abilities, as I mentioned before, and this is a glitch-filled world. So oftentimes you can interact with the environment in a way that you shouldn't be able to in a normal platformer. I remember one of the first times I discovered that I had been playing this game for probably half an hour and having a good time, but then I was like, it just seems like, how the heck would I get to that platform up there with my current loadout of abilities? Like, it makes no sense. Turns out you can absolutely walk through the edge of the screen and go to the other side, right? Like, that's one of the first things that kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool, right?
I love that.
There are, of course, different parts of the environment that you can just walk right through. You wouldn't think that would be true. You can, because this is the glitch dungeon. So very cool in that way. But when we get to the actual abilities, there are four main ones. There is an ability called Airwalk, which is like the glitchiest, one of the coolest ones that makes it feel extra glitchy. When you airwalk, you're basically on a platform and you can walk as if you were on that platform all the way across the screen, whichever way you want, right? Until you actually jump and then you fall through. But it's like there's an invisible bridge beneath you, basically.
It's Looney Tunes logic, right?
Yes.
The character doesn't know that they're off the cliffside until they look down and realize it, and then they fall.
Yes, correct. So, that in conjunction with some other... Really, the way you're puzzle solving is by combining all these abilities in fun and unique ways, right? Because you have to switch between them to do things. The next one is called, I don't even remember exactly what it was called, but I call it the floaty jump. It basically allows her to jump extra high, and if you hold the jump button, you gently float back to the ground. There are different ways, of course, that you can use that while platforming. There is another one where you can actually walk up walls. So you put this ability on, you walk straight into a wall, and all of a sudden you start to scale it, right? It's like you're climbing up a wall in that way. And then there's one that is unique and interesting, but isn't as, used at certain points in the puzzles. And that's like, there's legit, like when you run into glitches on screen, the purplish hued glitches, you will reset yourself back to your previous save point, which there's usually a save point in about every room. So if you walk into that, then you have to reset the puzzle and you have to restart. Well, there is a ability that allows you to walk through those, and there's intention around that where you can walk through ones that you can't actually sweep away. You have to switch back and forth, maybe jump through it with your glitch ability, and then immediately switch to a different ability and start doing something else, right? Just an example, I suppose, of how these abilities work together, right? It might seem like a super, at the forefront before you start doing it, it might seem like an almost impossible platforming challenge until you get a couple of abilities. And then you realize, oh, I have the wall walk ability and I have the air walk ability where I can go up this wall and then switch to my air walk, and all of a sudden I'm walking across. And it's almost like the platforms don't even matter at that point. Right? Or I don't even really need platforms. I just need to dodge the glitches, get to another wall, switch back off, and that's kind of how it evolves over time. Very cool, very unique, honestly. We had played, obviously, Ooh was one of them, but we had played a couple really cool puzzle platforming games last year. And this one absolutely fits in extremely nicely with those others that we had talked about, Motion Wreck and Ooh. This was a very good, very quality puzzle platforming type game from last year. I guess before we get to wrapping up, a couple other items here. There are collectibles. There's like shards, which is almost like a currency. You can buy like one or two things with them, but really you just want to try to collect them if you see them. There's keys, which sometimes you need multiple keys to open certain doors, so that involves a puzzle platforming to get to these keys. And then there are these things called spawns of the goddess, which are these little like green emerald gem looking things. And almost every time it requires extra intuition to get to those. They're like extra hard to get to, like a really unique, cool collectible, right? If you're going for that completionist style. I got roughly half of them. But there were several where I seriously looked at them. I'm like, do I have a big enough brain to figure this out? Like you try for a little bit and I'm like, okay, I don't know how I'd get there. I might have to come back and try again later, which fortunately after you complete the game, it does show you where all of those are on the map. So you can easily go back and try your hand at those puzzles again to get back to them. But, after all that, that's most of the game. That's most of your puzzling. There are also boss fights in this game. And as you could expect of a puzzle platformer, they are mostly puzzly type boss fights.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes, you do get contacted by these bosses, and this is the only time in the entire game where you actually have a health bar. You and the boss each start with, between 3 and 6 health points, and you have to figure out how to hit their weak spot before they kill you. Right. But the cool thing is you start, if you die, which I think I died to every boss. I don't think I one hit any of the bosses. If you die, you just start right outside the boss door, go back in, and try again. So it's just that, rinse and repeat process where you're learning, and eventually you figure out kind of what you're supposed to do in that boss, and then it's a matter of execution. So boss fights were really fun. I enjoyed them. They added an element to this game that I think would have been a little bit lacking if they weren't there. So they kind of test your knowledge of the abilities and how to use them that you use throughout the level. And then you get to that boss, and it's kind of the ultimate test when it comes to that. So
nice. Very cool.
But do you guys have any other questions before I put it on the quest log?
I have two, both based on the trailer I'm watching. One is in the upper right corner of some of the screenshots, there's what looks like a Photoshop color picker. It's like a gradient of every color, basically. Is that one of the shards that you talked about?
Yes, that is one of the shards, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the weird things in this game that's like, oh, this is an NES-style game, but for whatever reason, these shards look like they're straight out of Tunic or something. They're ultra 3D and rotate in cool ways.
Yes.
So that's just a general currency. And I think they just had fun with that in terms of the graphical quality of it. But
and then the other thing, I think what you're referring to with swapping abilities is what this is referring to. But one of the trailers says combine abilities. Do you ever literally combine two abilities into one, or are they mostly referring to chaining them together to solve a puzzle, you think?
Yeah, you're chaining them. You don't combine them directly. Towards the end of the game, you actually, generally for almost all of the game, you only ever have access to two abilities at once. And if you run into a different ability, you lose whichever one you were holding at that time. So you have to kind of rotate through them in that way. Yeah. Towards the end of the game, of course, as things build, you actually get to use all of the abilities at once. So you can scroll through in a fun way, and you have to really use your big brain to figure out how to scale up. And the cool thing is, there were times when I would fall down, and then I'd be like, well, let me try something else. Let me go up this way instead. And turns out, yes, you can. That's what I love about it. It's not there's one solution to this. There's multiple. It allows you to think outside the box and use the abilities in fun and unique ways that it's not nope, there's only one way to get up. You just got to figure out that little key to get there. No, we actually allowed you any way to get up. It's a glitch dungeon. Figure it out. You can get there anyway by any means possible. So I really enjoyed that about it.
I love a game like that where sometimes you get the sense that the developer didn't even have an intended solution. They just put something together, and they went in and made sure that they could figure out a way to get to the end. And they're like, all right, whatever they figure out, that's fine. That'll work for me.
Yeah,
yes.
Just have fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
My only question for you in this one is, you said there's those optional collectibles, which remind me of Motion Wreck with the notes, or like Strawberry and Celeste or something like that. Is there is this have a layer of depth that you can find in the periphery, like a down, what am I thinking of? Something with some secrets that are off the beaten path,
Animal Well or
Animal
something?
Well, yeah. There you go, something like that.
I will say that it is very possible that is the case, and that I didn't discover it.
Yeah, he needs me to stream it to find out. That's the deal.
Yeah,
honestly,
ooh syndrome.
What it reminds me of is Ooh, and how I did not discover the extra levels until Steve played the game. I shouldn't have been, but I was more or less on, okay, let's get through this thing. Let's bring it to Indie Quest.
Sure,
I started the game early enough to be able to do more with it, but I've been playing, Memories in Orbit and everything. I've been playing other games. So I'd play this game for half an hour, get my fill, enjoy it, move on, play something else, or go do whatever. And so I never got to the point where I was like, oh, I'm absolutely going to go for these spawns of the goddess and figure out. I know for a 100% fact you get something from getting them all, because there's a lot of hidden chests. It's where it's what the heck is that chest? And most of them that I found just changes your face, allows you to put a mask on pretty much, which is cool. That's a fun little graphical thing. But there are other things where it gives you question marks, and it's figure it out. We'll tell you what button to use. And it's could I have used that button the entire time to do that thing? And I just didn't know. Very Tunic-like in that way. So
that's cool. I love that.
Sweet.
All right. So, with all that said, Babushka's Glitch Dungeon is a main quest.
Nice. I honestly had no idea where it was going. Sometimes I can divine, but not this time.
I would main quest it. I think it is just ultra unique and quirky, and because of that, it's to me sort of a one of a kind type experience in terms of what the experiences that I've had. It's just super cool. Like it's the type of game where you're playing it, and as you're playing it, you can't help but smile at stuff that you do. Now, if I had like my son play this game, I don't think that he would get the same fuzzy feeling that we get, because this is of our era. But yeah, I mean, they know their target audience, and I'm not going to punish them for knowing their target audience. I'm sorry, I'm 35-ish, and I enjoy glitch dungeons. Yes, exactly. Yep. So, also, I finished this game in 2 to 3 hours, and that's just perfect length. Yeah.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. Yeah, I got to play this.
Yes.
Off the dome, no pressure. Where would you rank it relative to Ooh and Motion Wreck in a puzzle platformer tier list?
That is so hard. I was thinking about that actually after finishing it, and knowing that I didn't complete it the way the game probably would have liked me to. I would say that it maybe isn't quite Ooh, but it delivers a similar vibe to both of those games. I might, recency bias and all that, I may very well, for the pure uniqueness that this provides, I may very well put this above Motion Wreck.
Wow.
It's
all right.
It's good. I mean, it's cool. And the funny thing about it is, if I ever stumbled into a part where I was like, I wonder if that was what they intended, I was always like, I mean, it is a fucking glitch dungeon.
That's they have like a blank check, right?
They
do.
They
want.
Yeah, they could have made mistakes and like whoopsie, but it is what it is, man. It's a glitch dungeon. It's Babushka's glitch dungeon. So, I highly recommend this to anybody out there that enjoys a good puzzle platformer. I didn't really explain the whole Metroidvania Lite part. Basically, you start in the middle, and there are 3 branches, and you can just choose which one to go down. But in general, all you gain by going down these branches is maybe knowledge of the abilities themselves. Oftentimes, it gives you like a little like fog screen in front of doors that kills your abilities, so you can't walk into the next room with the same abilities. And then they organize the next room for you in such a way where it's like, oh, you're going to get this ability at this time and use it in this way.
Oh, okay.
So it's not really like, oh, there are doors locked to me. For the most part, you can choose to go in whichever direction you want, but other than it being kind of a quirky hub area, like they could have done, here's World 1, World 2, and World 3, pick like from a menu screen. But they allowed you to go in the direction you want. So that's why I almost think this is more, like much more puzzle platformer, straight puzzle platformer with choice than a true Metroidvania or gate exploration.
So nice. Okay.
Cool.
Babushka's Glitch Dungeon, a main quest.
Yeah,
it is.
It is funny in a game. It's a game that they could literally go, "Oh yeah, that bug that's intentional." Like
yeah, free pass.
Free pass.
Yep.
It also makes me wonder if some of the power ups in the game you can glitch past those gates that you're talking about. You never know. Maybe that's the hidden thing in the game, right?
True, yeah.
Probably. Although I do feel you're right, Josh, because they put them in very specific places where there are certain times where they're like next to a door and certain times where they're on top of a door.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if it's on top of a door, I can't do anything about it. But if I have a set of abilities where I could scale above that and drop on the other side, I am almost positive they hid things that I just didn't get in those situations.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Bringing tools or solutions from one puzzle into another puzzle to break it and get something cool is one of my favorite like puzzle game tropes.
Yes.
It always makes you feel like a genius every time you do it, where you're like, oh, look at me.
And that's almost the premise of this game in a lot of ways. Like, can you find a way to break it? Go ahead. Like that's what's cool. So
it's on my wish list now, and it's at least on Steam. It's their debut game, Pets Club 2. So kudos to them.
And it is I discovered this because of a episode we're going to be doing soon, although I don't know if we want to spoil that till later, but this is a $6 game.
So close.
Relevant info. Long-time IndieQuest listeners will know.
Yes. Yes.
Cool. Josh, you want me to go next?
Yeah, if you'd like to.
Sure. I'll rock it. Well, Josh, before the episode, Josh was saying that he knows what my game is, so why don't you tell everyone what the name of my game is?
Didn't you play Cassette Boy?
Cassette Boy, yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you were going to say Big Hops, because, again, I played two recent indies, but we're not talking Big Hops today. We'll talk Big Hops another time. We're talking Cassette Boy today. This is a game developed by... I always get confused when there's multiple developers listed on the Steam page, and also they both have opening title cards. I believe that the primary developer is Wonderland Kazakiri Incorporated, but it's also often credited in some places to Forever Entertainment. So some sort of combo development there. It's put out by Pocket Pair Publishing, and it's available pretty much everywhere. It's available on PC, PlayStation, Switch, and Xbox. I don't know what specific consoles they're released for, but because all those are backwards compatible, you have the newest thing, you can play it. So I will set up the story here for you all so that you can get a sense of the adventure we're about to go on. The moon has disappeared from the skies, broken and shattered across the lands. Your job is to set out, save the world and its inhabitants by reuniting the shards of the moon. But be careful, this is no simple task, because the things you don't see don't exist.
Oh.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, you make the hair on the back of my neck stand up with that voice.
It helps that I'm sick right now, so I can really lean down into my baritone.
There you go.
You got to take advantage of it while you have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
My sticky shoes. So I'm eating good, because the two indies I've played so far this year, one is a 3D platformer, and the other is a very Fez-inspired puzzle game. So it's Steve genres stacked atop the Steve genres here. But yes, this is a puzzle game primarily, but you also could refer to it as a Zelda game simultaneously. Isometric, Zelda-adjacent exploration game with a big puzzle focus, largely revolving around perspective. Yeah.
And can I mention, like I always do, I feel like when we start talking, and Steve may very well get to this, it has that nice Game Boy look, which I just love.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is extremely Game Boy coded. It's certainly more detailed than anything could be on the Game Boy, but by color palette and general chunkiness of pixels, it is Game Boy for sure. The whole game is done with maybe 4 or 5 shades of green, similar to an original Game Boy. It's not the exact same pea soup green as an original Game Boy, but it's very clear what they were going for. But this is I guess it's 3D, but it's also 2D in the way that an isometric game is, right? Mm-hmm. But it is definitionally 3D, because the key design element, the key thing you're going to be doing for puzzling is rotating the world around. You can basically, in any room you're in the game, you can switch your perspective to any one of 8 perspectives in a 360-degree circle around your character. So you can view things from any cardinal direction or any 45-degree angle. And you're going to use that to solve puzzles a lot, because, like I said in the very important story setup, what you don't see doesn't exist, which means that enemies, objects, components of a puzzle, when they're not in view, the game treats them as if they aren't there. So a very easy example of that might be something that you'll discover very early on. There's a button on the ground. When you step on the button, it lowers a metal door so you can walk into the next room. You step off the button, door goes up. There's no way for you to get from that button to the doorway in time before the door goes up. But you can step on the button, you can rotate the world so that a tree is obscuring the view of the button, so it doesn't exist anymore, so it can't go back up, and then you can walk off of it and walk through the door permanently. Or Maybe you're walking down, again, this is something that you'll encounter relatively early. You're walking down and need to get past this huge monster that's way too strong for you to fight. You can try and attack it, and this is a game with HP and like damage values. You can attack it, you're doing 1-2 damage, and it has a pool of like 1,000 health.
Yeah.
You're like, what am I going to do? You can rotate the world, obscure it by a wall so that you can just walk right past where it is because it no longer exists because you're not looking at it. So
That's
you're going to
sick.
solve a lot of puzzles by hiding things in the perspective of the game.
Heck yeah.
It's really cool. This is one of those games that's so easily gifable. You see like 3 seconds of it, you're like, what is this game? I got to see more.
Yes. Yeah, it's very flashy, right? It's just a cool idea. Now, this is very similar to Fez. People compare it to Fez for like that rotational mechanic that Fez has. But what I like about it is that it takes that idea. It's a perfect example of someone borrowing an idea from somewhere else and doing their own thing with it, because this doesn't really play anything like Fez. Fez was about controlling perspective to create 2D platforming scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is if the rotational mechanic didn't exist, you could change, a good handful of the puzzles, obviously, but this would just be a Zelda game. It would be Link's Awakening. Like,
Right.
There's kind of like a central town. You're exploring these kind of like quote unquote overworldy areas. You're finding dungeons. You're going into dungeons, defeating a boss at the end of the dungeon, getting a piece of the moon, aka a piece of the Triforce. Seth is just like,
I'm watching a video.
He's just got
it
a
is
big
so
smile
sick.
on his face, just nodding along. I love it.
Like,
sometimes
it's almost like every time I see something happen, I'm like, am I smart enough to figure that out? Gosh, it is very much that game, that type of game.
you are definitely smart enough to figure this game out for sure. There are some parts that are tough for sure, and there are some puzzles where you'll like, obviously they take that idea and they like remix it and twist it and do cool stuff with it. And sometimes you'll be staring at a puzzle and you'll kind of have like forgotten, like maybe it's been like 4 puzzles in a row where you really haven't had to use perspective that much. It's been more just like a literal actual puzzle.
Yeah.
Or like more like a Sokoban, like block pushing or something like that. And then you'll get one that requires it use perspective, and your brain will completely forget, like, oh, if I position the camera in the right way, these spikes that are blocking my path don't exist. I don't have to. Your brain approaches one of these situations, and you go into like Zelda puzzle platformer mode where you're like, okay, I have to figure out how to get over those spikes. Do I need to push a box over here so I can climb over them? And do I have to try to like find a way to hook shot across the top? Like, am I going to come from the other direction? Like, your brain kind of does the Rolodex of all the games you've played in the past, and sometimes they're like, oh no, I just have to use the mechanics of the game that I'm actually playing to solve it.
It reminds me of, in the complete opposite way, this game is to Zelda for puzzles how Titan Souls is to Zelda for combat.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I have a very cool, unique idea that I'm going to do with this already proven formula, and we're going to put a huge twist on it. So
yes. And I will not spoil everything. I mean, if I tell you that it is a Zelda game, you can very quickly identify a small handful of items that are almost certainly going to appear and become part of your toolkit. So, like, for example, you'll get some bombs at some point, stuff like that. They do keep most of the items relatively lean. All of your like tools that you use to interact with the world, like for combat and puzzle solving, are always accessible at all times. So, for example, when you unlock bombs in like the second dungeon or whatever, sorry to spoil, bombs just becomes what L2 does on the PlayStation controller, at least. And now for the rest of the game, you just hit L2 to drop a bomb. And so it'll kind of like, the bottom of your screen will like build out with your kit, and buttons will just kind of come online as you get abilities. So it eliminates, in that aspect of the game, a lot of that like Zelda item management of like, oh, go into a room, okay, I gotta open up my menu, I gotta swap these 2 items for these 2 items, and then I'll be able to solve this puzzle. It's like you always can just kind of do everything, which is great. And then there's also a lot of abilities and power-ups and just kind of general things that I don't want to spoil, because there's some very cool, fun ideas that this game has in terms of power-ups and abilities. But you will also find some wholly unique abilities in this game, or at least abilities that maybe you've seen in other games but are used a little bit differently here, which is a lot of fun. I won't spoil what any of the specifics are, but a lot of those are tied to a cassette player, which is why he's called Cassette Boy. You'll get different tapes that you can put into a cassette player, and when you play the tape, different effects will happen during the time that tape is playing that you can use to solve puzzles. And it's kind of fun. This is like objectively more of a burden than it is helpful, but the tapes will only run for like a certain amount of time, and then you'll have to literally rewind them. So they map it to the D-pad. When you press right, you're playing the tape, and it'll play for 20 seconds or so, and whatever the effect is, I'm not going to spoil any of the effects, but something is happening. And then when that runs up, you have to press the left button on the D-pad to rewind the tape, and it takes like 5 seconds to rewind it. Again, like literally, there's no reason for that mechanic to exist. It's probably just more annoying than anything else, but it's a nice little touch. So you got to rewind the tapes, I thought it was a neat little thing.
Yeah.
And so it kind of follows the loop like you might expect, where you'll start in that main town, you'll walk around, you'll talk to different people to get either context for the world, or they'll set you off in a particular direction on what you need to do. You'll spend a lot of time talking to people in that town. Stick a pin in that. We'll talk about it later. And then you'll go out, usually in like one particular direction to go to the next dungeon. It's not quite open in the way where you're exploring this open world and you've seen like 5 spots that you can't get to. It's usually like there's only one path that you know of that you can now go down, and you'll probably end up going that way. But it still is an open-ish Zelda-style world. As you're doing that adventuring, when you're not doing the puzzle solving, you will do combat, sword-based combat, and it's not good, guys. It's not good.
Okay.
It's not good at all. I mean, I can hear my 2-year-old crying in the other room right now because he's thinking about the combat in Cassette Boy. I feel for him.
It could be Cassette Boy, but it could also be the combat in Tunic. You know what I mean?
I have a note in here. My next note says, okay, I'm reading it verbatim. It says, okay, Tunic and Death's Door have a heated rivalry, but they would stand arm in arm against Cassette Boy. All right,
you're prepared for that one.
Yep, he knew it.
Cassette
He knew
Boy
it was
is to me what Tunic is claimed by other people. I'm like, man, this is just not good. And the main reason why is that unless I missed something, there's no defensive utility. There's no block. There's no shield. There's no dodge roll. So if an enemy gets too close, you just take a hit. And your sword is like a stubby little nothing sword. And so you always have to get within a pixel of an enemy to do any damage. And then if they counter or if they attack you, you have like no recourse. You just have to kind of face tank it. It honestly starts to feel a little bit like Ys bump combat, just where you can press A to slash your sword when you bump an enemy, because there's not a lot really you can do. And eventually you do start to learn like their patterns, and you learn like the exact rhythm of like go in, slash, back up, let them do that lunge attack, go in, 2 slashes, back up. But you only learn that by taking a bunch of damage to the face and not having really had any other alternatives.
Yeah, and with Ys, you at least understand very quickly, if I go in at an angle, I'm going to be okay against 98% of enemies. You figure that out, where this does not sound that. That's why bump combat is the way it is because then you don't have to be pressing a button constantly. Like that is kind of obtrusive when you're going against enemies that have a lot of health, and you've got to go back and forth, like you were saying, and make up your own version of dodging, really.
Yes. And unfortunately, you can't just like skip most of the combat, at least while you're exploring the world, because the game does have a relatively rudimentary, but it does have a experience and a level system. Like you will level up, and you have like an attack stat and a defense stat and a critical hit chance stat and stuff like that. And so you need to be killing enemies to get experience so that you stay roughly on pace for the level curve, because otherwise you'll get to a boss and they'll just chunk 2/3 of your health in one attack and you'll be doing like piddly nothings to them. Now, granted, if the environment supports it, you can just rotate the world and make an enemy disappear and walk through that room. But not all situations allow for that. And again, you can't do that too often because otherwise you'll get behind on the power curve. So the puzzles are what you're here for. At the end of the day, you're playing Cassette Boy because you want to rotate the world and do cool stuff. Or maybe you're playing for that cool Game Boy aesthetic, because it does look really quite fresh. It has a soundtrack too that matches that pretty well. Very chiptune-y. It's not like right now, if you told me to hum one of the melodies, I don't think I really could. So it's maybe not like an all-timer soundtrack for chiptune, but certainly as you're playing, it's very fitting. And like especially some of the field themes really that they pop. Like as you're exploring around, you're like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And you're rewarded for like learning the ins and outs of the systems as you're exploring around too, because there are hidden kind of like shrines from like a Breath of the Wild or something. You'll find these gates hidden around, which are usually a little bit harder to get to. And when you go in there, it's like an optional, more difficult puzzle that focuses usually around like one specific, I guess I would say, sub-mechanic or interaction, some way that two systems work together. It'll play with that a couple of times and force you to think out of the box. And when you walk into those, the developer even pops up like a banner on screen that says, "These are not required for the story. If this is too hard, you can leave and come back at any time. You'll never be required to do this." So it's nice to know. And from those, you'll get like upgrades for your character, sometimes some stat boosting items. Sometimes you'll get like some free XP, kind of like a one of the souls that you can consume in a Dark Souls game. You get one of those that'll just give you 300 XP. Or you might get something called an ancient coin, which is this game's, I forget what you were calling them in Babushka's glitch dungeon, hard collectible.
Spawn of the Goddess.
Spawn of the Goddess, yes. The star from Braid, you know. And it's this game's, you really went above and beyond. And those are sometimes hidden down in the world, not just in these little sub-dungeons. And then there's a shop where you can trade in your collectibles, like kind of like the seashells, I guess, from Link's Awakening, and add so many, you'll get upgrades or items or whatever it might be. And you do need a certain number of those to beat the game, but not too many. So all in all, it's a very cool idea. It's a very fun like way of puzzling around the world. Do you guys have any questions on any of that, I guess? Any of how the mechanics interact or what the game does?
I was going to ask, so you said the combat's not that great. Does that so are the puzzles so amazing that just kind of goes to the wayside? You don't think about it at the end of the day. It's like, I get through the combat, but these puzzles are just so good that I'm getting to them and I forget about the combat. Or is the combat that bad?
I was thinking about the combat as I was playing it. It was so. Thankfully, it's never like super hard. Yeah. Like it's not annoying. Like, oh, I keep dying and I restart. And even if you die and restart, you again going back to the Souls thing. There's not a lot of Souls energy, but there's a few key things that are really Soulsy. You save and you checkpoint at bonfires, like campfires. And they give you one like every 2 to 3 rooms that you're in. So if you die and restart, you're never more than like 2 rooms back. It's not a big deal. But I didn't often die from the combat.
It's just tedious.
Honestly, what would usually happen is like it'd be tedious, or I would almost die because you'd have to get so close to an enemy that it'd go pop, 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 and I would kill them as we trade blow for blow.
Yeah,
and it would do 3/4 of my health, and then I would have to backtrack to the campfire, go back in. Now this time maybe we trade every other blow and I'm only down to half health, go back to the campfire, and then go back, and now I finally understand the enemy and can kill it and progress forward without having to run back to the save point. So it increased the tedium of exploration. I think it would have just been a better game without combat, personally. Yeah.
Okay.
That was going to be my question. Would you have just either find a way to improve the combat a lot or leave it off entirely? But you pretty much answered that.
Yeah, even if you had just like a Zelda style, if I'm facing the enemy and not pressing attack, I have a shield that stops attacks. Even that would have gone like enough for me to, go full Steve and start apologizing for it and being like, it's actually not that bad. Hear me out. Balan Wonderworld has a lot of redeeming qualities. Yeah, there's no music, but Trevor McFur still has some great shoot 'em up moments. So people know me. They know what I'm about. So take that for what you will when it comes to the combat. The other part, as long as we're in the downsides, because this game is more upsides than downsides for sure. It can be a little tough to know where to go. This is the type of game where you'll finish a dungeon and somewhere in the world, one NPC will have changed their line of dialogue, and you need to talk to that person to like progress the story forward. They do put like a speech bubble above people's heads that have new things to say.
Okay.
But the problem is that those characters aren't even always the ones in the town. So basically every single dungeon you finish it and you just have to like do a tour of the world talking to everyone again until you find the right guy to talk to. Which was a bummer. It meant my experience was that in between every single dungeon in the game, I had this like 20 minutes of aimless wandering until I figured out where to go next. I never did the thing where you finish a dungeon and you're like, all right, I got this. Finally, I got this item. This opens up so much. Let's go this way. Let's go this way. It was always like, damn it, that was my only lead. Now what?
Oh, that is such a turn off, man. I hate that so much. I hate more so now than ever before. I feel like we've become accustomed to have our hands held when we go through games. And maybe that's not a great thing in a lot of ways. But in some ways, that's called quality of life improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And new games don't have to have that, archaic style of go back to town, talk to everybody again. They're all going to say the same thing, except for that one guy next to the cow for some reason.
Yes.
Like, I don't. So, yeah.
Or like, I'll spoil one of the bigger blocks that I got. I reached a point where I had no idea where else to go, but there's a single locked door on like a beach. And I was like, well, I know that's something I've never done. I have no idea if that's the path forward. I have no idea if that's another dungeon. I just know that's like the only thing I know of that I haven't solved. And I talked to everyone and I couldn't figure out how to get in. And it turns out the way to get into it, again, I'm spoiling this one thing for people, is I needed to reopen the shop in the town because the shop sold the key to that dungeon. And you reopen the shop by getting X numbers of those collectible coins I talked about, which my brain had kind of assumed was entirely optional. But it turns out a certain amount of it was required for critical path and mandatory. And no one outside of, there was the woman standing outside the shop that had been there since the start of the game. That's like, I need to reopen my shop, but I need a permit. No one else in the world like nudged me in that direction by being like, I heard the shop is going to sell some great inventory, like a number of keys or something like that, to make me be like, okay, they're talking about the shop a lot. I should care more about it. I just thought it was a side quest that I hadn't gotten to yet. So stuff like that. But then you go into a dungeon and you're flipping the world in every direction and you feel like a genius.
Yeah.
And it does some really cool, clever stuff with like its isometric perspective too. Like sometimes you can like get places you don't think the game should let you get to by messing with both the isometric camera angle and the perspective shifting. So you feel really cool solving puzzles in goofy ways sometimes when you're actually doing the dungeoning. So yeah, if you guys don't have any other questions, I mean, it's probably never been more clear where a game falls than this one. It is a game of two halves. I came up pretty strong on it. Like, we're not a numerical score type of show, but when I finished everything in my backlog, I gave it like a rough 5-star ranking, and I gave this one a 4-star. So like, it didn't knock it down a ton for me, but like, this is a perfect side quest example of a cool game with some caveats. Like, there's 2 or 3 things that most people will get frustrated by. You get past those, or you can overlook them, you're going to think this game is awesome. And if you can't, you're still going to have a good time with the parts that work really well.
the cool thing is you laid things out in such a way where the people who know it's not for them just won't play it. So that's okay. But
yeah, and if you do steer clear, at least go look at the Steam page, look like a 2-minute video of a gameplay or something, just to be like, that's a cool idea. Put a little good energy in the world out for that developer to be like, creative stuff, man.
Yeah,
I like that. And this is a big swing for this developer in terms of genre. Before this, they had released like a block building like design engine, and before that they released like a voxel roguelite. So they don't have a history with puzzle platformers, I guess, maybe for good or ill, but yeah, they had some good ideas and like really did some fun stuff with this one. So I didn't regret my time with it at all.
I did have one other question. How long did it take to finish?
If you're like main pathing it, you don't care about getting everything. Probably like 10-ish hours, 10 to maybe 12 on the high end to get through everything. Took me more like 20 because I wanted to go for the platinum, of course, and you have to get 30 of those hidden coins, and the game is too young to have any guides, so I couldn't like look up the last 3 coins I needed. I had to just like run through the entire world 4 more times until I found them. But yeah, 10-ish, give or take, and you'll have a good time. So that's Cassette Boy.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, I do have a segue from that one. So the game that I am bringing is in that isometric perspective, but it's a different genre altogether. This game came out in 2024, and it is one of the rare times that I'm going to bring a sequel before the games that come before it. I'm going to bring Cat Quest 3 to the show today.
Oh, nice.
Oh, very cool. These are games people love. Also, kudos to us for bringing 2024, 2025, 2026 to the show this time. It's a very satisfying pattern.
So, my background with this series is I never played the first one. It always looked interesting. I was like, oh yeah, that game looks fun. It's kind of a cute, light Diablo-like game. That's what all 3 of these games are. Then we played the second one. I liked it. It had some friction points, and I would honestly, if I was going to bring it to the show, that would be side quest with a bullet. It's a good game. But Cat Quest 3 takes all the ideas from the first 2 games and kind of just refines it into kind of a perfect light action RPG. So the main premise of the game is you play as the cat, and his buddy is named, I think, Cappy. He's like a floating cat head, and you're the seeker, and you're trying to find some MacGuffin to save the world and to stop the Pirate King. He's a rat. And this game's full of a bunch of puns like that. It's like the pirates. Every time somebody says you're fabulous, they'll have like a cat pun to say that or something like that. Like the main character's name, one of the main characters' name is Mama Milka, and she has like a milk bar in town. There is Captain Mautilica, which is very, very,
what I think of.
Yeah. And then Captain Mautilica is basically like a Metallica, like boss,
okay.
And so it's a game with a lot of whimsy, a lot of heart, I'd say, a lot of good jokes, and just fun kind of dad joke punny humor throughout the entire thing. And that's how they speak. Every sentence has a pun in it. It's a lot of fun. And the art style is beautiful. It looks like basically take the nicest looking like painted map of like a pirate ship. So the theme of this game is all pirate related. Take like the nicest pirate map you've ever seen and add like cartoon cat characters and enemies onto it, and it's just beautiful to look at. The presentation here is just top notch. Honestly, it's one of the best looking games in this style, at least in a unique look. It has a very unique look compared to a lot of these games that are usually going for like a Diablo dark and grim looking type of thing. So
this whole game has the energy of, because it's the 3rd game in the series, and like you're saying, it is gorgeous. It looks really good. It really feels like they released the first one like, we're going to do our little cat game. This is going to be funny. And it was like huge hit out of nowhere, and they're like, "Oh, people really like that. We are pretty much financially obligated to do a sequel."
Mm-hmm.
And they release a sequel, and it also is a big hit, and people love it, and they're like, "I guess this is just what we do now." And suddenly they had like all the budget and time to like go hard on this silly cat game that they've been wanting to make forever. Like there's more money or more attention and time put into it than they ever thought possible, and it shows.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It really looks like a storybook come to life, like when you're playing the game. Most of the time when you're in the overworld, it is that isometric look to it. There are some dungeons you can go into that it turns into a side scroller occasionally too, which it's pretty fun. So the basic like concept, I guess the gameplay, we'll get into that a little bit. You start very small. You only have like a sword, and then that's it, like a little wooden sword, very tropey. But then you do a dungeon, you unlock a musket sidearm, and then basically the basic concept and the two different things, you have a range attack, and then you have a up close attack, and then you have a dodge roll, and then you have various items you can equip that can make different weapons and things do more damage or stuff. Like you can get like an ice wand instead of like a musket. So the secondary like range can be wands or guns. So you can get like an ice wand, then you get like the ice costume as you're collecting things in the dungeons. Your ice attack's going to be stronger. You're going to freeze people longer, etc., etc. Very much that there's a ton of loot. Let's figure out the best build with all this loot to kick the enemy's asses, pretty much is what these games are. But this game does it in such a way where it leads you along. It really feels like, not to be like negative or anything, but it's not even negative. This is baby's first action RPG, pretty much, because it'll lead you from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. So let's say you're level 5, you're going to see a level 7 dungeon. You're like, well, let's go take care of that dungeon, and then you'll get a piece of gear or something from that. And then, of course, there's the big objectives you're kind of making your way to on the like open world like hub area of the game. So let's see, what else can I talk about? We also have ship combat in this one, which is new to the series. You have your own pirate ship, and then that's something else you can level up. And there's some ship battles. I'll say the combat in the ship is very basic. It's mostly just shoot a couple cannonballs and then just dodge away a little bit, shoot a couple cannonballs, rinse, repeat until something's dead. Then you get a couple of like power-ups and things to do, like cannon like blast, like triple cannon blasts and stuff like that. And there's like a lightning attack you can unlock and stuff later on to fight the biggest boss, which is the giant rubber ducky on the map, which is really fun. So
I like that.
Yeah. It's just a really fun game. I played this in co-op and it works really well in co-op because everything's tuned really well, like health pool wise. You don't feel overwhelmed. It feels like that curve is made for co-op. I haven't really played these by myself yet, but I would assume that would be the same thing if you're playing it by yourself, just tuned differently,
It feels like a game, like you already mentioned. The idea behind this is play it in co-op. I've always thought of these games as they are co-op, and that's the best way to experience.
Yeah. And it's pretty easy to describe. You're just going through this world, discovering new areas. The thing I like about this one compared to the second one, because the second one had like this huge Earth map. There's like multiple zones and everything. I felt like they had so much ambition. They're like, let's just add another continent. Let's add another continent. Let's add another one. This one is pretty much one singular map where you start in the center is kind of like the hub area where you save and, go to your shops. You have a magic shop and like an armor shop and a weapon shop right there. And then that's also a place you can get like bounties across the map too. And then you basically have these little things that point like kind of compasses in the world, say, okay, you got to go northeast for this next mission. So you head northeast and then you find the dungeon. And then there'll be like a story thing that you can follow, or you can talk to people along the way, get some side quests and level up that way too. So basically making your way around the map, unlocking everything, beating all the bosses till you get to the final boss. Very simple, gameplay style. But I just like the writing in it. It's just so fun to talk to all these just wacky characters. Nobody talks like a normal character would. Like I said, it's very storybook heavy, storybook style. And then in the background, you have the most piratey pirate music you've ever heard in your entire life. And nothing I would probably listen to outside of the game, but it suits the tone and the theming here very well. So, any questions so far?
No, it's a series that I have always been interested in checking out.
Yeah.
What the heck? There's like is it called Costume Quest? Is that like the Halloween RPG? That's another series of games like this that I've always been like, those are interesting, and I just haven't gotten around to them.
That's a fun one too. Yeah, everything I've ever heard about Cat Quest is like it's just a very pleasant, low friction, feel good kind of game. Like you pop it on when you want like a little curled smile out of the corner of your mouth for 4 hours.
Yeah, and so the thing about this game, it's if you go to How Long to Beats, it's like 5 to 6 hours, but this world is so much fun to explore that you're going to spend like 10 to 15 in it because there's just so much little things to discover. Some of the most fun, like little Easter eggs, like harkens back to like other games and things like that. There's a bunch of little like, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a whole dungeon that's related to another game series. And it's just, I had the biggest smile on my face the entire time when I got to that dungeon. I'll let you guys know if you want to, but like after, but I don't want to spoil that for people. It's so fun. It's really cool. But what else do I want to say? Like I loved the curve for getting the gear in this game, because a lot of times when you're playing Diablo or something, you'll kill Rat King or something in the underneath the or the Butcher or something in Diablo 1 or whatever, and then just loot just pours out of them, and then you have to like kind of manage your inventory, go to the shop, sell a bunch of stuff. In this, there's like, okay, you'll get like one or two things, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to this boss, and it's a lightning boss. Maybe I need to switch up my gear a little bit, focus on like melee attacks this time, or this is an ice boss. Maybe we should both have fire attacks this time. Things like that.
Sure.
So nothing too complicated, and changing gear is so simple, and leveling it up is really easy, and getting like the currency to just let's just do a whole new build, fresh build. We have 10,000 coins. We can level everything up to make it nice and go to that dungeon. So very, very frictionless. I mean, it's not super challenging. There's challenge to it, but it's not that bad. I feel like even little kids could get a lot out of this game as well, which I think matches the whole tone and the colorful art style and the whole package in the first place. So,
heck yeah,
awesome.
All right, yeah, this one was a really fun time. I'm kind of sold on this series now. Like, if a new one comes out, we're gonna be playing it day one. Because both these games were just like a really fun weekend. We played the second one a few months ago, and then this one just a couple weeks ago. Nice Saturday, kick our feet up and beat it in one day. Just like co-op session, just had a blast, So, nothing. I can't think of very many detractors for this game. There's no like insane difficulty curve. It's just very well polished. Very fun to play. Looks very good. Has fun humor, and it's just a joy. So, any other questions or anything before I put on the quest log today?
There's one Steam review that I think is really appropriate that lines up kind of to what we're talking about. It's a bulleted list. It says there's 4 bullets. 1, it's fun and entertaining. 2, at some points it could be a little hard or frustrating. 3, if you fight some of the bosses too early, it's too difficult. 4, but mostly it's pretty amazing. And then it says in parentheses, the review from my 7-year-old son.
Ah, nice.
Perfect.
I love that.
Yeah.
Josh, do you know, is there another one on the horizon? Have they announced?
I don't know if they've announced it, but there's a story. So if the question is, should I play the first one because of the story, whatever, I'd say you're fine jumping in either on the second or the third one. I would recommend the third one because, like I said, it's the most balanced and just I honestly think it's the most fun, especially in the second game. Another comparison I can make is instead of having a secondary slot for your ranged weapons, you have to pick a build. So say you're in a situation where magic just doesn't work, but you've been building your magic the entire game. You're just like, okay, well, now we got to go grind and get myself something to use for the melee side. This one has both, so you kind of are building both at the same time, regardless. Which I thought that was a nice change. Something they improved from the other one. So, all in all, you're gonna have a great time with this. I might have lost my point. I don't know, but I think that when you jump into this, the story is there. There is story from the previous games, but you can really just honestly read like a paragraph synopsis, and you're gonna latch on to what's going on. It's nothing like so high concept you're not gonna figure it out. But I'm sure it. I liked playing the second one and the third one. I never played the first one, but I bet that would be a really fun curve to just play all three in a row, just to see like how much the studio has matured over the last decade or whatever it's been. So, yeah, excellent game. I'm pretty glowing about it. So it's going to be a main quest. I'm pretty sure that's obvious. But if you want something super fun to play in co-op, 2-player co-op, I think that's all it supports. You're going to have a lot of fun. Couch co-op or online, I think both are supported. So yeah, it's just a really, really fun game. It's going to put a smile on your face. It's going to be memorable just to have fun with your buddy or your partner or your kid.
Nice.
My final thought is just that I respect the restraint to not give any of these a subtitle, to just call them Cat Quest 2 and then Cat Quest 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like, I think the other one, the second one was more like, I think they're trying to do themes going forward, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did like a different theme the next game, just because. But like there was like a Knights of the Round Table vibe for the second one. This one's all pirate themes, and they have a bunch of booty jokes in there and stuff, of course, because it's pirates. So
sure, yeah.
Krakens that are cat krakens with cat ears that talk about cat calamari and stuff like that. They have a lot of just cheesy, fun humor that's very light and just enjoyable. So, good times.
Awesome.
All right. I think that's going to do it for our show. We had 3 awesome games today. Babushka's Glitch Dungeon, where everything goes and the points don't matter, I guess. That was a main quest. You main quested that guy. This one is one I definitely got to check out. And we got Cassette Boy, which is awesome, but has a couple of caveats. So, got us on a side quest today from Steve, and then we got the main quest of Cat Quest 3, which is just a really fun, colorful, and lively 2D 2.5 action RPG. There we go. I like our sweep. We kind of had some different variety today.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, a little something for everybody.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for our show. I guess it's time to plug stuff. We did have a campfire chat. I did want to mention that. We did get your email, but it is an IQ OST specific one. So we're going to save that, but we have it. It's in our little doc. I have it saved for us. So when we get to another OST, we will read that email. So thank you for sending that over. If you guys want to send us emails, you can send us an email at indiequestpod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Blue Sky at indiequestpod. Steve, where can they find you on the internet?
The 2 easiest places that Seth isn't going to mention are my Blue Sky or my Twitch, both of which are Blinkgoom. And come say hi. It's a good time. But Seth, where can they find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky also at Captain Drachma, and of course in the Polymedia Discord, best place on the internet. And if you want to get into that Discord, head on over to Patreon, search up Polymedia, jump into the tier that gets you in the Discord, and come and chat with us. Josh, where can they find you?
You can find me, Josh Leslie, on Blue Sky, and my other show, which is about movies and entertainment that I do with my friend Chris, called The Monthly Mishap. Check that out. And we're also a part of the Polymedia Network. There's a bunch of awesome shows over there. Go to polymedianetwork.com. You can find Polykill, Steve's on, and a bunch of other shows. If you like nostalgia movies, video games, you're going to have a lot of fun over there. So, Seth, why don't you close us out today with some awesome parting words?
Well, gosh dang. I should have known this was coming because it feels like it's been a long time since I've had to say something. What I'll say is, if you've got snow, or there's ever a chance that snow could come to your doorstep, do yourself a favor and do one of two things. Either go get yourself a snowblower, save your back, or at least do the thing that I did and upgrade from one of those old straight handle shovels to like the nice bent one that saves your back. Because I tell you what, I don't got a good back anymore from years of lifting too heavy things the wrong way. And that did help a lot in comparison to the old shovel. So shovel the right way out there, folks, and play indie games.
Peace.